Hello, this is Michael with Field Tech Academy. In today's video, we're going to be installing a backboard and a wall-mounted network rack and terminating cables to it. First thing we want to do is try to locate the studs because we need to mount the backboard on studs. Got a nice little magnetic stud finder. Backboard is 3 foot by 3 foot. And 24-inch studs. So we're only going to be able to mount one portion of this on studs, but we're going to use togglers. So we'll get at least 3 points into the stud and it should be fine. To use togglers, we're going to have to make a 1/2-inch hole. I'm going to temporarily mount the backboard just so I can mark my holes. All right, first thing I did was I put a screw at the bottom of this so I can rest on it since I'm by myself. Now I'm going to get it leveled off so that I can actually lock it in place and then I can make my toggler holes. Now I'm level, so I'm going to lock it down. So I'm going to make 3 anchors into the stud, and it's a metal stud, so it's hollow inside. I'm going to use togglers. And when I say togglers, I'm going to use snap togglers. So these will go into the stud, and they'll flip out, and they'll actually lock into that metal stud. I got to make holes for these. I'm going to mark my stud. I'm going to do 4 holes in each corner, and then I'll have the 3 on the studs. So that'll be a total of 7 anchor points. So I'm going to leave 1 anchor in so that I will be aligned with my holes. I'm going to mark the wall so I can find my anchor points easier. To get our snap toggles in, we're going to use a 1/2-inch drill bit. And you might look at this and be like, there's no way that's going to hold a backboard and a rack and all that. These will hold 265 pounds in a 1/2-inch drywall. First thing I want to verify is that I really am on the stud, so I'm going to do that first. And if it is a metal stud, I'm going to have to start with a smaller bit. Make a pilot hole. That is definitely in a stud. And I have to have the pilot hole. Now on these in the drywall, I don't need a pilot hole because it's just drywall, so this should penetrate. Time to toggle. This straightens the toggle. Pull the toggle against the back of the wall. Make sure it's flush. Run your zip down. Make sure it's in the hole. Pull on your toggle. Make sure it's as tight as it can be. Break it off. The other thing you want to make sure of before you get going is that all your bolts will start, because once you get the board up, you're not going to be able to get behind it. Sometimes these will get off center, so you need to know now if it's not going to go. Okay, that one's good. That one's good. Now we need to make holes in our backboard so that these will go through. Looks like a 5/16 should be good. A little too big, but not much. I put my hanging screw back out so that I can position it and lock it back down in place until I can get the anchors in. Biggest challenge with the snap toggles is if you push too hard, you can push the snap toggle off into the wall and then you gotta start all over. So you gotta have enough force, but be gentle. I'm not tightening these down. I'm leaving it where I've still got movement. So I got all of them started. Okay, that one's good. Okay, I got that one. Let's hope we're still pretty level. Yep, perfect. Now we can lock it down. And that's how I mount a backboard. We're going to remove this back plate so that we can actually mount this on the wall without having to lift it and mount it at the same time. So this plate goes on the wall and then we'll just hang this. All right, our rack is 24 by 24. So I think I'm going to mount it in this quadrant. It'll leave some space out here accessible in case you need to mount something else. All right, we're going to come off of the top. So we're going to make sure that we are an inch below this so that our plate will not give us problems. Alright, now in theory we should be able to lift the rack and hook it on the rails. Really? All right. So the lag bolt heads are too large, and so it's pushing it away from the bracket. See if that does it. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. That's good and level. Now last step is I'm going to put 2 lags on the inside just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And that's how to mount a Tripp Lite wall mount network rack. I ran 14 cables at this site. They wanted black cable. Of course, black cable is hard to mark with a Sharpie. Got a set of electrical tape that different colors. I was able to go through, and obviously I've got 14 cables. I only have 5 colors. The first set of cables that I ran, the first 5, I just did a single wrap. After that, I started doing a 2 wrap, so 2 green, 3 blue, 2 blue, single. You get the idea. And then as I pull it out of the box, I put tape on the box so I know which box it came out of. So once I got the cable pulled all the way to the destination, came back here, then I could actually cut it at the box, tape it the same on this end, and then I knew which cables are which, so I don't have to tone and trace them. Now I'm going to make a service loop up in the ceiling. Here I am coiling up a couple of rounds of cable to create a service loop. Now a service loop serves a couple of purposes. The main one being that you've got a fail-safe. If you make a mistake, then you have a little bit of spare cable to unwrap and pull back down. Then of course, for future use, if someone comes in behind me in a year or two and needs to move the rack or make changes or shift the patch panel down at a lower point in the network rack, then they have the ability to have some extra cable with which to do that. So I've got my service loop in the ceiling. Now I'm pulling my cables in through the rack so that I can have a nice little cable path, and then I'm going to start terminating the patch panel. I'll put this up in the ceiling later, but at least now I've got it coiled off and ready so that my distances will all be the same, and I've got this low enough so that I can actually see all of my colors. I went around the facility and marked all of my cables, looked at what my color code was, labeled them all in order so that they all flow around the building in a logical fashion. Now I know, using my map, which ones I'm going to put in port 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Now I can start terminating the patch panel. This is a brand new rack, so I'm having to put the nuts into the rack so that I can attach the patch panel. While I'm at it, I'm actually attaching the nuts for my switches and my other pieces of equipment so that I'm ready to go. Now I'm going to mount up my patch panel, but I'm going to just finger thread my nuts because I don't want to have this tight until I get all 4 points attached. Then you can actually tighten it down. I have a lot of slack left in my cables, and I did that on purpose because I'd rather cut off extra cable than to end up at this point needing more length. The first thing I'm going to do here is take my number 1 cable, and I'm going to lay it out and estimate the length. And I'm going to pull it through the patch panel. This is a pass-through patch panel, and get it ready, and I'm going to use it as a template to shorten up all my other cables. When I'm making the decision on where to cut this, I want to make sure that I've got my 90-degree turns and that I have left enough so I can cut off and strip down for my keystone. Bringing this cable over from the side all the way across to 1 means that this is going to be my longest cable. So I know I can use it as a template so I can shorten all this up so I'm not fighting with it all day. Before you cut, you want to make sure you've got your service loop in the ceiling. You want to make sure that you've got whatever you're going to do here for your back side, where you're going to make your hole. And then you calculate your distance, and you know you're safe. Because all the rest of them should be shorter than this one. If you've never seen a pass-through patch panel, these things are amazing. As you can see, once I identify my cable, I can bring it through and start planning my cable management. Now I look at my cables, I look at my tape markings so that I know which cable goes to port 1, port 2, etc. And then I'm going to position them and get them ready so I can cut them off and put the keystones on it. And I said this was a pass-through patch panel. It's actually a patch panel that has blank square holes, and it allows you to take your keystones in from the back and just snap them into place. I should be done in the ceiling, so I'm going to cut my tile to allow that cable to come through. Since this is sitting on the wall, I'm going to have to cut at this paint line here. All right, now we've got our tile back. We can start cable managing down here. We should be done on the ceiling, making progress. You want to bring your cables in from the edge and not just bring them straight through, because you may have equipment that sits up on top that this is going to block if it's right here in the middle. As much as possible, I try to use Velcro. Zip ties can pinch the cables and create problems down the road. But what I'm doing in this moment is just temporarily putting in a zip tie to hold it in its place, and I can still work with the cable and move it around, and then later I'll replace it with Velcro and make it more nice and tidy. We got a coil in the ceiling. Now we have a good cable path. Now all I have to do is terminate the keystones. The beauty of this pass-through style is that I can take this out and work with it, put a keystone on it, and then snap it in, and I'm done. I don't have to flip the patch panel around and punch it by hand every single time. Every brand has their own all-in-one tool. I happen to use Quick Jack. You'll slide the jack in, and it'll terminate all 8 conductors at the same time. Saves you from a lot of punching down and wearing your arm out. Whatever brand that you like to use, find their all-in-one tool, make your life much easier. I'm going to pull my cable out, and now I'm going to strip it back. You can obviously use scissors, I like to use a pre-made stripper though. It seems to be a lot safer for not cutting the internal pairs. Over the years when I've tried to use scissors on the outside jacket, many times I've actually ended up cutting the internal conductors, and then you don't discover it until you're doing testing and you got to redo the whole thing. So in my opinion, it's just a lot easier to use a stripper that is designed specifically for Cat 5 and Cat 6. Once you've stripped the outer jacket, depending on which brand and type of cable you have, you may have a thread in the cable, and you may also have a plastic strip that is in the cable. You want to actually cut those off and get those out of the way. Then you'll separate your 8 conductors. I always try to keep my colors together, like my blue, white, and my blue, green, white, and green. A lot of the cable brands, the colors are very, very faded, just not bold where you can easily tell what they are. So keeping your pairs close together keeps you from crossing over maybe like the brown and the green or something like that. Then once you've got your pairs separated, you're going to take your keystone, and every keystone is different, every brand is different, but they're all going to have the color layout on the side. You just need to make sure that you're looking at your keystone and look at the color layout and make sure that you're matching your pairs to the layout. And we're typically using the B standard. A standard is not typically used in most cases. Once you have all 8 conductors laid in, use your all-in-one tool. And just like that, you're punched down. On the pass-through patch panels, just bring it in from the back. Clip side down. There you go. Rinse and repeat 24 times, or however many cables you have. You want to bring the end of the jacket right up to the base of the keystone. You do not want a lot of your cable conductors to be exposed. You want as little of that exposed cable as possible. If you have long tails before you punch it down, that's not a big deal. You're going to take each one individually and make sure you match up the colors like we talked about before. Lay them all across. That way you're prepared for your punch down or your punch down tool. And in this case, with our nice all-in-one, we're just going to slide that in and crimp all 8 conductors at the same time, throw away the tails, and as you can see, that jacket is right up at the keystone. Always remember to put your retaining clip on the keystone. It's very important. That keeps the pairs from pulling loose as easily if that cable ever gets pulled on. Moment of truth. Time to start testing and see how well I terminated everything. And we got a pass on one. Found one that tested bad, so we're going to see how we miswired it. Oh, there it is. I got the green, white, and the brown, white mixed up. Let's go retest. That one is good now. Now comes the fun part. Get to rack and stack the network equipment. It's always like a moment of relief to start putting the equipment in because you feel like you're actually getting near the end of the battle. Biggest thing is to try to think about cable management, make everything nice and tidy. I don't show all of that in this particular video, but you can at least see some of the prep work that I do for that. Now, just like I did on the patch panel, I don't put in my screws super tight until I've got all 4 started, because you may have to shift the device around to get one of the screws to reach the threads. The other thing you want to do is when you do start tightening it, especially when you're using a driver or something electric, is you don't want to really crank them down super hard. You want to have something that has maybe a clutch on it, because these screws will strip out the heads really easily, really quickly, and then you're in trouble trying to get that screw back out. So again, I'm trying to think cable management. So I'm positioning switch 1 above the patch panel, and next I'm going to be putting in switch 2 under the patch panel. That way I can use super short patch cables, and they're going to be, there's going to be very little cable showing, and it's very close to the patch panel. So in theory, that makes everything look much cleaner and much easier to work with. The next pieces that I'm putting in are some Meraki devices here. These do have brackets that you can buy that'll actually mount them up very cleanly, but this particular client did not provide those. So in this case, I'm just going to position them on top of switch 1 and try to space them out to where they'll sit pretty neatly on the rack. And that's pretty much it. Went through mounting the backboard, mounting the rack, terminating the cables, and beginning the rack and stack. If you got value out of this today, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in getting your own direct clients like I had for this call, please check the link in the description for our direct client package. And as always, let's get you out in the field making money. I'll see you in the next video.